joining from across Canada and abroad, and welcome to today's intersection of IoT and distributed energy resources webinar featuring Microsoft Canada. My name is Eric Muller, and I'm the Director of Stakeholder Relations at Quest. Quest is a national non-government organization that works to accelerate the adoption of efficient and integrated community-scale energy systems in Canada. And Emily, if you could advance to the next slide, please. We recognize communities that embrace these principles by referring to them as smart energy. We do this by connecting, on the next slide, please, Emily. We do this by connecting and convening stakeholders through working groups and we influence policy and regulation at the provincial and federal level. And we educate through on-the-ground projects and research. And Emily, if you could advance to the last slide, I just want to make sure I thank all of our smart energy leaders for their support. And I especially want to thank Microsoft, one of our Quest smart energy leaders, for contributing your leadership to today's webinar. So in case you're just joining, I'm seeing a lot of people jumping in the first couple of minutes. Welcome to the webinar today. My name is Eric Muller. I'm the Director of Stakeholder Relations here at Quest. And so before we switch to before I introduce our speaker and before we bring up our speaker's presentation, I'd like to let all of you know that today's presentation is being recorded and we'll be sending it out to all of us questions using the Q&A chat feature, and we'll be holding them until the Q&A session after the presentation. So now I'll ask Emily to stop sharing, and we'll Julie Morin's presentation, and I will introduce Julie while all of that happens on the background. So I'd like to introduce our speaker, Julie Morin. Julie is Director of IoT Solutions and Smart Infrastructure at Microsoft Canada. She helps public and private sector consumers and customers accelerate their digital business transformation through Internet of Things initiatives. Julie brings exciting technology initiatives with Canadian organizations and finding innovative solutions to address high-value digital transformation projects. She collaborates with clients on Internet of Things, predictive analytics, machine learning, and data strategy, while ensuring compliance and security at the forefront. So I'd like to welcome you, Julie, and thank you for being here with us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Eric. We're so happy to be participating in today's session. I'll be going over some of the different use cases that Microsoft has been able to work with some of the community partners in the energy sector to be able to help drive innovation in the energy sector. Can you confirm, Eric, that you can see my slide?
Yes, I can see those slides, yes.
Fantastic, great. So in terms of Microsoft in the role in energy sector, it's a lot. We get that question quite a bit as to, why is Microsoft interested in working with this sector, which is quite an interesting conversation point, because one of the things that Microsoft has been doing for the last 3 years is we've been investing over $5 billion in IoT, and that was a 4-year investment, and that was to help reach our goal to ensure that we could help customers in the energy sector and a lot of other verticals to transform their businesses by being able to connect to their assets that they have out there in the field. So the investment we've made was, was a very substantial investment that was required in order to help customers like yourself be able to start their journey into IoT and into the cloud. But we also invest about $1 billion a year on cloud security. So the $5 billion in IoT is in addition to the annual $1 billion security investment that we make. Another massive area of investment for Microsoft is around sustainability. We're currently aiming to be carbon negative by 2030. We want to cut our carbon emissions to more than half by 2030, but also we're looking at being, removing all of our historical carbon emissions by 2050. This is a massive goal that we have, but we are definitely taking the responsibility by leading with an example. We're also investing $1 billion in our Climate Innovation Fund, which will help customers in the energy sector, in the utility sector, be able to transform through innovation and technology, but also through some of the partnerships that are in the marketplace. We feel that working with the energy sector is key to help the overall market achieve better sustainability, better resiliency, as well as better distributed energy resource optimization initiatives. Microsoft and its cloud platform was recognized as a leader in both manufacturing and for energy industrial IoT platform, according to the IDC MarketScape. There's many different studies made in the marketplace that you can review. It's a great way of seeing, who's taking the leadership role in the industrial IoT sector for addressing customer requirements. Many customers ask us, what's IoT and what's the role, in the ecosystem? Well, if you think about it, there is the evolution of innovation in the cloud, where you want to be able to do transactions in the cloud, but you also want to start connecting to the assets so you can collect enough data so you can make actions, take actions, and make decisions at the edge. But you also want to be able to do, AI and being able to do forecasting and predictive maintenance and some of those different use cases that may help your business and your organization work more efficiently. And we've done this in the with digital twins in the energy sector, as well as in the traditional property management sector. We recently announced Azure Digital Twins, which is a product that is going soon in general availability, that would allow you to clone your actual physical assets that you have and be able to represent it digitally in the cloud. So when we talk about IoT, it's connecting to your things, gathering the insights, but also taking action. So for example, if you see that a piece of equipment is currently stressed and it might create an outage, you may want to proactively send out a technician before that asset breaks down. But we're also providing the ability to do that cloud to cloud and cloud to device command so that you can manage your devices and your assets. We're also ensuring that you have end-to-end security from the device to the cloud. So that will allow you to provide the security that you would expect for your grid operator and then for any energy use cases that you want to tackle on. When we look at digital twins, we are essentially fusing the physical and the digital world. And some of the use cases some of the customers have achieved with digital twins is being able to do fault detection, diagnostics and auditing, predictive maintenance, operational efficiency, and of course, just getting a better line of sight to the assets that are out there in the field. But then obviously there's other actions that you can take where you can take the context from the data that's coming through, but being able to provide optimization requirements, asset tracking, maybe it's logistics and supply chain that you may have to optimize with the data that you're factoring in. But at the end of the day, it's all about the data that is being collected, the control motions that you're going to put in place, and the action that you're going to take by collecting all of these different disparate data sources. When we look at digitization of power and utilities, we definitely feel that we have a role that we can help consumers as well as large utility providers aim at delivering cleaner and affordable energy. We also want to help improve the grid resiliency, the security and the reliability of the grid. We see that there's a lot of new investments being made in the energy sector where there's more renewable energy sources. And then of course, how do you manage all those distributed energy resources? And how do you optimize to use the cleanest energy source and the most cost-effective energy source first, and then optimize based on that? We're also helping traditional oil and gas sector innovate as well, who are trying to improve their carbon emission structure, as well as being able to optimize by being able to send out technicians at the right time at the right place, as opposed to sending them on a schedule to see certain sites, which is actually resulting in carbon emission savings because you're not sending someone out to go drive for like 4 hours, for example. But other use cases in the renewable energy sector is being able to address the volatile energy demand, the bidirectional flow of electricity that we're now faced in today's day with solar being installed at some of the residential customers' homes or properties. But also, how do you take in the prediction of what type of, how much energy we can expect based on weather patterns? So how do you take that into consideration in terms of optimizing the grid? We're also seeing a lot more electric vehicles being added onto the grid. So it can cause some problems where if everyone plugs their electric vehicle at the office at the same time, it could potentially cause the building or that particular area of the grid to experience a surge. So you have to now accommodate that use case. So that's where the role of software can play a really, really good role to help optimize that. But it's the same thing when that electric vehicle gets, plugged into the residential customers' homes at the end of the day. We're also feeling that a lot of the utility providers, have an aging grid. So there's some massive investments that are going to be required in the next couple of decades. And we feel that the software components can play an important role for traditional utilities, and we want to be there to help in that transformation. We've done this already with some customers in Europe, which I'll show some examples further in the presentation. But we want to be there to help in that transition to address all the use cases that are popping up with the energy sector. And we've done a lot of that already today. So we want to share some of those success stories and some of the learnings there. We also see that there's going to be a lot of changes in regulatory compliance. For example, the recent FERC Order 2222 will probably start enabling a lot more renewable energy projects to be created. So that should be really interesting, as well as the recent US elections where the Democratic Party made announcements that they were interested in driving more renewable energy initiatives. So we feel that we're going to be experiencing a surge of use cases in the renewable energy sector, and we're going to be there to help customers like yourself in that journey. Obviously, the energy industry has been evolving, it will continue to evolve, and it's really impressive to see the rate of change that we've seen in the Canadian marketplace. We've also partnered up with Quest because we feel Quest is driving the right motions in the Canadian marketplace to address sustainability and building resilient communities. So we're super excited about that. And we're also working with a lot of you in Canada today on these use cases. When we look at the electrical grid landscape, there are so many different types of energy sources, and we're not here to say one is better than the other. What we're here to say is that we're here to help you optimize based on all the different types of energy sources that you do have and how you do generate energy and how you do distribute energy. There's ways of optimizing without having to make excessive hardware investments. You have a lot of those assets today. Being able to collect data from all of these disparate data sources can help you make better operational efficiencies in your business. So we do have a lot of partners in this ecosystem that leverage the Microsoft Azure cloud platform already. There's Canadian customers like eMagic and CGI who today use Azure IoT, as well as we've got Schneider, ABB, and Rockwell that are also partners in our ecosystem. At the end of the day, we're here to help you whether you want to build your own solution or you want to partner with an organization that has already built out a solution. But all of these use cases are very interoperable. How an electric vehicle plugs into a charging station or how it plugs into a building does impact the energy consumption. And the bidirectional flow of electricity is impacting the types of decisions that the local utilities are going to have to make in the next couple of decades. And so to be better prepared, it's great to educate yourself on the software tools that are available for you to make some more efficient decisions and essentially optimize how you've been doing things already. And many of you have already invested some really great products and tools to help you in that sense, but we want to share some new use cases that maybe you haven't seen before. We see power and utilities as a really big area of opportunities to optimize, create new business model, do better field service management, be able to provide the integration of mixed reality with your actual smart grid, creating a digital twin of your actual utility infrastructure, so that you can do energy trading, so you can do power generation management, and of course, facility planning and development. At the end of the day, you already have many of these systems in place, but how do you get everything to speak to one another? Many of you have many different types of hardware equipment. So you may have equipment from Siemens and one from Schneider and one from Rockwell and from ABB. How do you take all of these different disparate assets and provide, an intelligent view of all of the different assets that you have so you can make, better operational efficiency decisions? So we're here to help with the aggregation as necessary, and of course work with the partner ecosystem to achieve your goals. But at the end of the day, we do see a lot of innovation coming into this sector, and I'm super excited to talk about a few different use cases where we've had a lot of success with customers and partners. We want to help you operate for the future. Of course, there's the supply chain, the buying and selling and transacting of energy. There is the need and ask for a lot of customers, depending on their provincial requirements, to transition to clean energy so that they can minimize emissions and, of course, create new renewable energy generation opportunity. You also have a workforce that perhaps it's time for that workforce to be more digitized so that you can be optimizing the resources that you do send out there for maintenance. And of course, enabling the smart grid use cases, you need to collect data in order to be able to optimize. And so we want to help you reimagine the energy sector as a way that it's not just physical investments that you may need to make, but it may need to be software investments to be able to transition to clean. And we have some examples of one customer where they had the choice to either make a large investment to update the grid, and they thought that they were going to have to make $1 billion investment. Instead, they opted to do software investments and minimize the hardware investments that they had to do to optimize the operational of their equipment. And that's Agder Energi out of Norway, and it's a fantastic use case. And we have a great video that we can share with you at the end of this call. But they were able to optimize the grid because they optimized with software. And that was to accommodate all the electric vehicles that they were going to get on the grid itself. Some of the IoT scenarios for the energy sector that we've seen, obviously there's use cases in power generation. So how do you do predictive maintenance so you can maximize your uptime? How do you reduce the downtime by making sure you have the right employee productivity? And of course, being able to pursue new energy markets by doing power generation. We're seeing a lot of cross-border transactions happening. We're seeing a lot more investments in the renewable energy sector where people want more new energy sources to be created. Even ourselves at Microsoft, where we're aiming to be more sustainable and more carbon negative, we are transacting and purchasing a lot of clean energy ourselves for our own organization. In terms of transmission and distribution, obviously the grid performance, the reliability, and the investments that are necessary there, there's ways of optimizing it based on what you currently have, not having to rip and replace everything, but being able to enhance and complement your existing investments so that you can reduce the costs and also, make sure that you optimize the equipment performance. And maybe you can extend some equipment performance based on optimizing on when to use it versus when not to use it. And of course, on the consumer side, consumers are starting to expect better visibility in terms of their energy consumption. I know that I, as a resident, would like to be a little bit more proactive around my energy consumption, but I don't know what my energy consumption is until after I get my bill. I'd like to be able to take a more proactive role. We're seeing different provinces where they're opting to provide programs for residential customers where if the grid is stressed, you can actually reduce the temperature of the house by maybe 1 or 2 degrees, where the comfort level for the resident won't necessarily be negatively impacted, but it might help reduce stress on the grid. We're seeing that in other countries, but we're starting to see it here in Canada as well, which is very fantastic to hear, because I think consumers would like to do some optimization. I mean, I never really check my thermostat every day, so I don't think I would notice it if it was adjusted by a couple of degrees each day, certain times when we're not necessarily needing certain spaces. In terms of the use cases like Microsoft with our Azure IoT platform that we're doing today, the connected distributed energy resource optimization, being able to visualize and ingest the data from the different grid assets and topology. We're providing that platform so partners that you probably already work with today can leverage in building solutions for you. We also are working on delivering advanced capabilities so we can do forecasting and optimization so that, partners that build, really good forecasting and optimization, formulas to be able to have some great algorithms to help you operate your business better. We're providing some frameworks there as well for them. And also we want to enable more electric vehicle scenarios. And of course, create some sustainability initiatives in the same process. And we actually have a great website that you can go, which is aka.ms/IoT Energy. We will be posting all the links at the end of this deck where you'll be able to go and visit and explore all the different video use cases that we have and see some of our partner ecosystem that we have. As I was mentioning, Agder Energy, massive investments that they made into software. But again, they actually were able to remove the need to do a massive capital expenditure. Instead, they did an operational expenditure with software, and they're actively working with Microsoft. So we have a few great videos from Agder Energy out of Norway as to how they're addressing sustainability with technology, and it's super impressive. And we hope to have more Canadian customers like this, showcased in the future. Another great customer, another common use case that we have, and a great, partner that we have is a company called eMagic. Now, eMagic is more of a partner for if you have a lot of property assets and you're trying to optimize the energy level, or you want to do system integration with all the different systems that you have in place, whether it's your HVAC or your temperature or the lighting level or the utilization of space. eMagic has the ability of doing the master system integration and be able to help optimize the energy consumption for any of the buildings. And again, this is an example of a great use case, a great partner, and also a Canadian partner based in Toronto that can help customers that have a lot of property assets to be more carbon efficient. And this is another great partner. This one is out of Europe. It's a company called eSmart Systems. They help do visual drone inspection for the grid. And assuming that you have a lot of different grid assets, sometimes you may, some customers that we work with, they do either helicopter inspections of the grid, or they might do, planes inspecting the grid, or they send out actual technicians. This service from eSmart Systems is really a big game changer for power grid inspections, because they can do drone inspections and they do very, very well. And they take the images and they're doing custom analysis of the equipment. And so you can prioritize which piece of equipment you may want to go repair out there in the field. And again, significant cost savings, because if you have to hire, people, there's the risk of, it's dangerous to climb up some of those assets, or to bring people to those assets. It might be where it might be a little bit more remote, but it's more around the danger, the worker safety. So doing the drone inspection is a really easy use case that you can start with to be able to do predictive maintenance. I recommend you go to the website, and if TJ would be able to post the link for the website, that'd be fantastic, because I think a lot of utility customers would be interested in eSmart Systems. Another really great Canadian success story with great technology, it's CGI. They're a system integrator, and then they have a platform called RMS. It's Renewable Management System. They can help monitor and help with the operation, and help analyze and help predict to extend the lifetime of your assets by knowing when the potential faults of your equipment might occur. And that is built on Azure and Azure IoT at Microsoft. So we're super excited to have them as a partner leveraging Azure IoT. Then we have other partners as well that you may recommend, like Eon is also using Azure and Azure IoT. They're helping with energy markets by being able to provide the right technology for their customers. Vattenfall, they actually have a really good renewable energy solution as well. I thought I would feature them here because they are also a great reference use case customer that you'll see on our website. We have a great partnership with them where they're providing digital solutions and technology to be able to optimize the operational of the equipment for the wind turbines. And of course, electric vehicles. Obviously, there's a lot more electric vehicles in Norway, and that's probably why Agder Energi was one of the first to really go big with software. But we're seeing other countries follow. Like, for example, in BC, Canada is going to be, BC is going to have some massive changes around electric vehicles. So I think, we're probably going to start seeing a lot of innovation coming from British Columbia around electric vehicles. We actually have some partners in Canada that do electric vehicle charging solutions. In this case, we're actually featuring Allego. Allego is an electric vehicle partner solution provider that we have. The ecosystem really impacts everything, right? So you have obviously all the electric vehicle owners and drivers, but you also have the operators and owners where all the gas stations are now equipping themselves to put EV charging stations for those that haven't done it already. But then, even at the building level for any property management firms, they've had to kind of start equipping the buildings to accommodate all the EVs. So there's been a lot of infrastructure changes required just because of electric vehicles. It's not just the electric vehicles itself, it's the entire infrastructure to be able to provide that service for employees and for customers and for obviously the marketplace, but it's also impacting the grid. So it's super interesting to see the downstream effect of all the innovation that has to happen to accommodate electric vehicles. And we're super proud to see a lot of our partners take the lead in this area. And then as a residential customer, that's also something that we want to keep in mind. Residential customers want the EV chargers in their homes. They want to be able to put solar panels on their rooftops if the local community permits it. In some cases, it's not permitted. Which I think there needs to be some legislation changes there to allow any home that wants to put solar panels to be able to do it. And then, of course, being able to have better visibility to the water consumption and energy consumption with smart meters. And then, of course, we're seeing some customers in more remote communities where they sometimes experience power outages in wintertime. They have to get generators or they get solar or they get, they get battery storage for energy. So we're seeing a lot of that innovation happen. Sometimes it's driven by the consumer, but sometimes it's also driven by the utility. So we'll see a lot more in this area in the next couple of years, but we're actively seeing that throughout the Canadian marketplace already. So super exciting times to be in the technology sector and of course being in the energy sector. Another great solution that we've seen in the marketplace was with OSO Hot Water. They make a connected hot water tank that is secured by Azure IoT Sphere. And they actually have a turnkey water heating system that you could actually manage intelligently so that you can optimize the grid when the right time is to heat that hot water tank based on energy consumption in the area. Another great Canadian success story for more in the gas sector, but is actually iGen. So iGen is a Canadian company, fantastic startup that, well, I shouldn't call them a startup. They've been in business for many years, but that they're still in the earlier stages in deployments with customers. But we're seeing some great traction, and we've actually been able to work with iGen over the last 2 years, and we're super excited to see them progress. They are definitely one of the emerging leaders in this space in the Canadian marketplace that we are super excited to have them leverage Azure IoT. And of course, that provides residential resiliency around heating in wintertime. Then more for water management, I thought I would include this one as well because we're all trying to be more sustainable and lose less water. Kohler has an actual product called Kohler Connect, and it is connected to Azure IoT. They're making the home more intelligent by being able to connect to your faucets, your showers, that can be controlled by voice. a bathtub that can be remotely instructed to fill to the right level and right temperature. It helps track and optimize all the energy and water consumption that you have in a residential scenario. So super exciting to see this, and we're seeing that at the commercial level as well with customers that are trying to monitor their water consumption. So I didn't want to spend too much time on technology because I wanted to talk about all the great things our customers and partners are doing. But I just wanted to leave you with some ideas in terms of what use cases were possible and how, like, some of our technology components that the customers and partners you may be working with are already using. But we do have, you know, various services in our Azure IoT portfolio because of the $5 billion of investment that we've made. The idea is that we want to be able to enhance and complement your current assets that you have. We want to be able to empower you to do smart grid or renewable use cases or smart metering, for example, by leveraging our technology. So if you feel that there's an opportunity for you to address a use case, come to us with a great use case or a great problem statement. And chances are there's another utility in another part of the world that's already went through that challenge, and we can provide some recommendations on how to address it, or we can recommend the right partner that can help achieve your goals. As I mentioned, we do have a lot of great Canadian partners that we have, but if necessary, we can reach out to other parts of the world as well. At the end of the day, the major thing that I want to talk about is the security level of our products. By far, we make significant investments in cybersecurity, $1 billion a year in cloud security alone. That's not an understatement for Microsoft. We take security super seriously, and in the energy sector, you do as well, because it is a national security issue to have security for the grid. So we want to make sure we're providing the right technology components to help you address the business use case, but also ensure compliance and security as much as possible. And of course, the use cases, as we talked about, there's the grid assets, and you've got SCADA and historians that you may want to tie into, and we can provide some of those functionalities for you to collect some of those data sources. In order to scale beyond a proof of concept, you want to definitely want to make sure you're thinking about, device management, and of course, master big data management, providing insights and analytics to the data that you are collecting, but also being able to provide high availability and disaster recovery. And of course, security and compliance always on the forefront, and take cost of ownership into consideration. Our goal is to help get to the end of your project faster in a more costly, efficient manner as well. We're providing tools and building blocks for your partner ecosystem or your suppliers and your vendors to be able to leverage that so they can take a solution to market a lot faster. So a lot of the accelerators we have is to help get there faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. And at the end of the day, it's to help get your assets connected, to stay connected, and of course, transform the business. We also provide white labeling service and multi-tenancy, and provide extensibility if you have, let's say, a field service tool that you're using to dispatch technicians. We also provide that extensibility as well. It is highly secure and it is industry focused. We do have some sample templates that you could use today if you wanted to. Actually, I had a small startup that contacted me a few weeks ago. They said, we're launching a solar panel initiative within an organization. So I was able to guide them to one of our Energi apps templates. So we have these templates so you can move a lot faster. One is called Smart Metering Monitoring, and the other one is a solar panel monitoring. We'll include links for that as well. But these are sample operator dashboards and templates that you can ingest the data from your equipment fairly quickly. And we also have all the documentation, some really good tutorials for you to be able to leverage. Again, I want to wrap up with the energy industry scenarios. We want to help you operate for the future. We definitely want to help you transition to clean and provide you some reliability in terms of how to connect to the data, including your old historians or your SCADA systems, and of course, help reimagine energy. And of course, not the last, but not the least, transform your workforce. How do we equip your next generation workforce by giving them the skills and technologies to help drive transformation with sustainable energy operators and service providers, and use technology as a way to recruit new talent into the energy sector. You know, we do need more people working in the energy sector that has a lot of technology skills. And so by doing these types of really cool projects around electric vehicles and solar farms and wind turbine projects, you're probably going to attract younger, you know, new generation of talent coming out of university, which is super interesting at this time. And of course, we have various variety of resources available online. You can go to aka.ms/IoT Energy. There's a lot of great use case videos, customer stories, as well as technology documentation. And of course, if you want to analyze energy usage patterns by using Azure IoT Central Energy templates, we also have the link there available for you. TJ will be posting these links in the side chat, and thought I would mention that for you as well. And again, think of Microsoft as the building blocks enabler to provide that foundation for the partner you work with, or for your own organization if you have your own software developers. We want to help you manage the EV network that you might be putting in. We want to help you with your smart energy use cases that you have, or distributed energy resource management systems that you're going to be working with. And we want to help with distribution automation and smart metering as well. So there's not a single use case that is the same for each utility provider. When we've spoken to many utilities across Canada, every single one of you are doing different projects, which is fantastic. So there's not a right or wrong approach. It's more around what's the right use case for your organization, and you know, how can we help find the right technology once you know what your use case is. The technology is there, but defining your use case is probably the most important thing. And we hope that we gave you some ideas on some different use cases that we've seen in different parts of the world that can maybe help drive some innovation within your local utility. I want to thank you for your time.
Go ahead, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and I'm super excited to have had the opportunity to talk about distributed energy resource optimization and the role of technology to help drive innovation in this sector. And you know, who knows, maybe next time we're going to feature more of the Canadian companies, and you might be one of them.
Thanks so much, Julie. And you can keep the your slides up there. That's great. We'll keep that thank you slide. And I just want to thank you for your presentation. And we will now turn it over to the Q&A chat for all of your questions that we'd love to answer for you and pass along to Julie. And as a reminder, you can ask those questions by using the Q&A chat feature, and we'll address your questions in order. While you're typing and getting those questions into the Q&A, I'll just start off with a question for Julie. Julie, you mentioned the US election, and you also mentioned FERC Order 2222. Yeah. And you know, with the outcome of the US election being now more certain, and FERC Order 2222 kind of focusing on removing market barriers to distributed energy resources and allowing more aggregations of DERs to participate in wholesale markets. What does this mean to you in terms of future DER opportunities in the US and Canada in that kind of new administration context in the US, and also this FERC order and how it may influence the Canadian market as well?
I mean, I'm not a politician, so I can't, you know, the one thing I will say is that I think what was exciting about the recent debates was the role that renewable energy played in the debate. I thought that was super fascinating, super interesting. I mean, it's no secret. I mean, there's the technology for renewable energy is happening, you know, whether we want to or for it to happen or not. We've seen Europe change legislation, and that's actually driven a lot of renewable energy projects. We're hoping to see the same thing in North America, obviously. But in terms of, you know, the FERC Order 2222, I think it will probably give more confidence for more organizations to do renewable energy initiatives and encourage more participation. So I think it's just going to create more opportunities for everyone in the ecosystem. So I think it was a really interesting move, and obviously Microsoft were super invested in helping in the role of taking data and optimizing and helping the customers transform their business. So we feel we have great experience in this sector based on a lot of the work that we've done with customers like Agder Energi, for example. So I think it's great for the economy, but it's also great for innovative utilities who are already undertaking renewable energy initiatives.
Great, thank you, Julie. I'm going to ask our co-facilitator here at Quest, Emily, if you'd be able to read out the other questions in the published Q&A and read those out for Julie, if you could do so. Oh, I may have lost her. My apologies for that. And if TJ or Julie are able to view the published questions, they don't appear to be refreshing on my screen. I'm not sure if anyone is, Julie, if you're able to see those live event Q&A published questions.
I am not seeing them, but
yeah, I can see them here.
Thank
Eric.
you, TJ.
No problem. The first question we have here is, what about privacy issues when technology is used in households, like the shower examples? And what are the emerging policies and best practices to ensure consumer data are not stored and used for other purposes, especially when given that regulation on lagging and difficult to enforce in this area?
Those are fantastic questions. In fact, one of the big roles that Microsoft does is, we do have AI recommendations for doing AI projects. So we actually have a framework around that. Privacy is key. Obviously, we don't. Microsoft does not monetize customer data. It is up to the individual partner that creates solutions to adhere to our policies, but Microsoft does not monetize public data. So, the data that is stored into the cloud. So that is something we're very, very firm. I'd be happy to follow up with information around privacy in terms of what Microsoft's stance is, but certainly we do help provide frameworks in place, and we do not monetize data that is stored in Azure. That's the main messaging we want to share today.
And thank you, Julie. And the next question we have is, what are the advantages of using an IoT platform over traditional SCADA or DCS systems with remote capabilities?
Well, that's a great question. We actually integrate with SCADA and historians today. So we actually have, like our IoT platform, we have a way to connect into systems via OPC UA. So we do connect, and we do a lot of projects with Azure IoT with, for example, the traditional oil and gas sector, where they have lots of historians and lots of SCADA systems. So we're not there to rip and replace the existing systems. We're there to enhance and complement. However, we can connect to the assets via secure protocol, AMQP, MQTT, HTTPS, should a customer want to do it that way.
Excellent. And the next question we have is, Azure is a terrific platform for energy integration. As energy systems are increasingly being developed through collaborative governance structures, public-private partnerships, how can Azure enable better collaboration in addition to better decision making?
I think that's a great question. So obviously, from a decision-making perspective, I was using the example during the presentation. If you have a customer that has multiple types of assets, like you have, let's say, Siemens and Schneider and ABB and Rockwell, you have all these different disparate assets. How do you aggregate all that data sources to be able to make the right decisions for the assets that you do have out there? So it's more around a central repository for all the data, so you can make the right analysis and decisions and forecasting, and start incorporating, like we know that there's a if you want to do forecasting with weather, for example, and you have a wind turbine business, well, you want to make sure that you're not going to go do maintenance on a wind turbine on a very windy day. You actually want to make sure that you capture as much energy during the windy day, and you're going to be maybe using the forecast to send out a technician when it's a quiet wind day. because one, it'll be safer, and two, it's more cost efficient to do it that way. So the role that we can play is help aggregate the data, help ingest the data in a secure fashion, and help provide your partners that you use. Most of you would use some sort of system integrator, but provide a lot of the frameworks and the security and the scalability that you would expect, so you can do better decisions to operate your business. Microsoft is we consume a lot of energy as well, and we take a lot of our own learnings in terms of all the buildings that we operate, and we help shape the future of the products. We do take a lot of product feedback from customers in the energy sector. So at the end of the day, the use cases do evolve, and we find some customers have really unique use cases, and usually it's having the defined use case will be supported by the technology that's already there and the technology that's coming in the pipeline. But our role is to really provide the building blocks for secure and scalable energy transaction and energy use cases.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, TJ, for playing a backup help there with reading out the Q&A. They weren't refreshing for me there, so I would like to ask TJ or Emily, are you seeing any more questions that are in the Q&A for Julie?
Absolutely, Eric. We've got one more that trickled right through. The last one here I have is how to work with your teams if we have a project that needs your product and systems.
So if you have a local Microsoft representative for your account, you can reach out to them, or you can send us a quick note directly. I'm easily found on LinkedIn. Having a clear use case would be very important. That's defined, and having because most customers, they either have a build, buy, or partner approach. So if you want to build your own technology component, then it's a different approach. If you want to partner up with an organization that provides a service to help your team build out a solution, we can also make some suggestions in terms of which partners are able to execute those use cases. But come to us with a clearly defined use case, and that helps us really shape the direction of the dialogue that we would have with you.
Excellent, thank you for that. And we'll just do one last call for any kind of final questions before we start to wrap up, and just ask TJ if you're seeing any more there.
Nope, that was the end of it from our side here.
Great.
TJ, you can post my email address if you want in the chat window. That would be fantastic if anyone needs to reach out directly to me. There might be a slight delay in response depending on the volume of questions I get at any given point, but we have a large team of Microsoft people that are happy to help engage on energy projects that you have in your respective groups and your organizations. And again, we have a great partner ecosystem that we can help save you a lot of time by getting you the right resources for the use case that you have.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julie. I'll just remind everybody that today's presentation is being recorded, and we'll be sending that out to all of you afterwards. And once again, I'd like to thank Julie Morin for your time and for your insights today, and to thank everyone for your participation. So you'll be able to contact Julie directly, and you can find her email address posted in the chat or the Q&A there. And if you have any questions or would like to get more involved in Quest and the Quest network, please reach out to me, Eric Muller, directly. And I'd like to thank Microsoft as a Quest Smart Energy leader for your thought leadership here and for your continued support, and to thank everyone for participating. And I wish you all a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.